Every morning at 5:47 a.m., Marcus Webb's alarm clock shattered the silence of his small apartment. And every morning, for just a moment before opening his eyes, he forgot. Forgot about the divorce papers. Forgot about his daughter who barely called anymore. Forgot about the emptiness that had become his constant companion. But then he'd remember. And the weight would settle back onto his chest like an old, unwelcome friend. Marcus was a city bus driver. Route 47. The same route he'd driven for 12 years. Picking up the same people, hearing the same complaints, watching the same streets roll by his windshield like a movie he'd seen too many times. 3 months ago, his wife left. Took most of the furniture, half his heart, and all the lightness from his life. His daughter sided with her mother, angry at him for reasons he still didn't fully understand. The apartment echoed now. The silence was deafening. Depression, his doctor called it. Gave him pills that made him feel numb instead of sad. Marcus wasn't sure which was worse. But he had a job. Bills to pay. So every morning, he put on his uniform, walked to the depot, and climbed into the driver's seat of bus 47. And here's the thing about Marcus that nobody knew, not even himself at first. Somewhere along the way, he'd made a decision. A small one. Almost insignificant. He decided to smile. Not because he felt like it. God knows he didn't feel like it. But because what else was there? He was going to drive this route whether he smiled or not. He was going to see these faces whether he acknowledged them or not. So he smiled. At every single person who boarded his bus. "Good morning," he'd say, meeting their eyes. A genuine smile, even though his heart was breaking. Most people didn't even notice. They were buried in their phones, trapped in their own worlds, running late, stressed, distracted. They'd grunt a response or say nothing at all, dropping their fare and shuffling to their seats. But Marcus kept smiling. Every single day. Every single passenger. What Marcus didn't see, what he couldn't see, was what happened after. There was Emma. 22 years old, first-generation college student, carrying the weight of her entire family's expectations on her shoulders. She had a chemistry final that morning. She'd studied until 3 a.m., but her mind was blank with panic. Convinced she was going to fail. Convinced she'd let everyone down. She stepped onto bus 47, and the driver, this middle-aged man with kind eyes, looked right at her and smiled. Really smiled. Like he saw her. Like she mattered. "Good morning. You got this today." Emma blinked. "What?" "Whatever you're worried about," Marcus said, still smiling. "You got this." She had no idea how he knew. But something in that smile, that simple moment of being seen, quieted the panic in her chest. She sat down, took a breath, and reviewed her notes one more time. She aced the exam. And every time she doubted herself after that, she remembered the bus driver who smiled at her like she was capable of anything. There was Mr. Chen. 78 years old. Widower. His wife of 52 years had passed 6 months ago. Every day was exactly the same. Wake up. Make coffee for one instead of two. Sit in silence. The walls of his apartment were closing in. He'd started taking the bus to nowhere. Just to be around people. Just to hear voices, even if they weren't talking to him. Route 47 became his routine. And the driver, Marcus, always greeted him by name. "Mr. Chen. Good to see you today, sir." That smile. That acknowledgement. It was the only time all day someone spoke his name. The only time he felt like he still existed in the world. Mr. Chen started leaving his apartment more. Started going to the senior center. Started playing chess again. Started living again. All because a bus driver smiled and remembered his name. There was David. 35. Just got laid off from his job of 10 years. 3 kids at home. Mortgage payment due. Heading to another job interview, another rejection waiting to happen. He felt invisible. Worthless. Like a failure. He climbed onto bus 47, barely able to meet anyone's eyes. "Morning, my friend," Marcus said, that warm smile breaking through David's fog. "Love that tie. You're gonna knock 'em dead today." David touched his tie, his only good tie, and felt something shift. Just a fraction. But enough. He walked into that interview standing a little taller. Spoke a little clearer. Got the job. Week after week, month after month, Marcus smiled. Never knowing. Never seeing the ripples spreading out from his simple act of kindness. Until one Tuesday morning in November. Marcus pulled up to the stop at 5th and Broadway. The doors hissed open. And instead of the usual trickle of passengers, people started boarding. One after another. More than usual. Way more. Emma was there. Mr. Chen. David. And dozens of others. People he'd smiled at, greeted, acknowledged every single day. They weren't getting on to ride. They were getting on to thank him. Emma stepped forward first, tears in her eyes. "You probably don't remember me," she said. "But 3 months ago, I was about to give up. And you told me I got this. I just graduated. Top of my class. And I needed you to know." Mr. Chen was next. "You say my name every day. You have no idea what that means to an old man who thought nobody noticed him anymore. David. You complimented my tie. Gave me confidence when I had none left. I got the job. I'm providing for my family again." One by one, they came. Each with a story. Each with a moment where Marcus's smile had changed something. Had mattered. Marcus sat there, hands gripping the steering wheel, completely overwhelmed. These people, these strangers he'd simply treated with basic human kindness, they'd been changed. And he'd had no idea. "Why?" he finally asked, his voice breaking. "Why are you telling me this?" Emma smiled. "Because yesterday, I saw you. Really saw you. And you looked sad. Really sad. And I realized we've been taking from you all this time without ever giving back. So we found each other. Compared notes. Realized we're not the only ones." Mr. Chen placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder. "You saved a lot of lives, son. You just didn't know it. Thought maybe it was time someone saved yours." Marcus cried. Right there in the driver's seat. Cried for the first time since his wife left. But these weren't tears of sadness. These were tears of purpose. Of connection. Of understanding. He'd been showing up every day, smiling through his pain, thinking it meant nothing. Thinking he meant nothing. But he'd been wrong. We're all wrong sometimes. About our impact. About our value. About whether our small acts of kindness matter. Marcus learned what we all need to learn: you never know whose life you're touching. You never know whose darkness your light is piercing. You never know when your smile might be the only smile someone sees that day. The broken can still heal others. The struggling can still lift others up. The hurting can still spread hope. Sometimes, the act of giving is what finally allows us to receive. Marcus still drives Route 47. Still smiles at every passenger. But now he knows. Now he sees them seeing him. And on the hard mornings, when his alarm shatters the silence and the weight settles back on his chest, he remembers, somewhere out there, someone needs his smile today. And that's enough to get him out of bed. That's always been enough.